Four things to become financially independent. Number one, you got to learn how to rewire your mind. That is first and foremost. Number two, you have to learn to eliminate sabotage. Most people don't even know it's a thing. It's a thing for all human beings. Number three, build a ridiculous skill set and strategy. And number four, you had better learn to invest. And I believe real estate is the only place to put it.
All right, everyone. So
Perfect.
we are back with Mark Tosoni. Today is day 2 of the training. Hold up, I'm still letting some people in, but today is day 2 of the training. If you missed yesterday, it's going to be live on Two Dudes Three Legs YouTube. It's also going to be live. Mark Tosoni's also going to have it, and I think he's going to be doing something with it as well. But yesterday was how to rewire your mind. Today is how to eliminate self-sabotage. So we're going to go through that today. And then we obviously have day 3 and day 4, same time again tomorrow, same link, same everything. But if you missed it yesterday, Mark absolutely crushed it. And today we are going to do the same. So the first time Mark ever said these 4 steps to us, I think in the video, you said, when you said, here's the 4 steps, and you said, rewire your mind, then eliminate self-sabotage. And Tony went, oh, in the video, because he was like, wow, I never even thought of that.
Yeah.
So, and then as you said it, you know, not many people even know it's a thing. It just kind of is a natural state of mind, and whatever is normal to you is considered normal in the world. So there's no way to really tell that you're really sabotaging yourself unless you analyze those thoughts. So regardless, Mark, why don't you tell us, you gave us a few things before the call, but I'll just let you kind of open it up into how do we eliminate self-sabotage? How is it even a thing? What to do with it? Everything.
I want to start with what exactly is self-sabotage? When will it present itself? You know, when should we be looking out for it? And then once we identify it, how do we eliminate it?
Excellent. Okay, cool. So it's 19, let me see here. I'm dating myself a minute, 94. And I had built a company with a partner, mentor. You guys will hear me talk about my mentor, Mike. And so Mike was my mentor, and we built a business together. And we had 100 employees. We were really doing good things. And we got this email, or back in the day, let me say, not an email, a fax. How many of you remember a facsimile? Some of you are like, well, what's that? Right? So we got this fax, and it was from our distributor. And we were in the alarm systems business, and they told us they were getting out. And at the time, we were an AT&T home security systems dealer, and we were one of the best. And we were really, really good at this. We were doing 200 alarm sales a month installed for about $8 million a year, which is not, you know, like huge numbers today, but back then it was a really good thing. And here's the kicker. Every one of those alarm accounts had a $25 a month, 5-year contract to go with it. Well, at the end of the day, when the dust settled, we had 3,000 of those alarm accounts. And so if you do the math on those 3,000 alarm accounts, even by today's standards, you're a millionaire, you're a bona fide millionaire. And 1 year later, we were selling it for pennies on the dollar. And so there I was in my beautiful town. I lived in the best town, best school district, the whole thing. And I'm sitting in front of my home. Back in those days, I would do things to hurt myself when things weren't going well. So I was smoking a cigarette and contemplating what just happened, asking God, what just happened? How did we have this rise in this fall? Okay, so I had taken my income from, I was stuck at $50,000. I went to 6 figures, I doubled that, and then, you know, created this net worth of 7 figures, residual income, and then boom, it's all gone. And so it was in that time of distress, in that valley, that I started asking the question, what the hell just happened? How do I prevent this from happening again? And how do I get it all back and then some permanently forever? So the quality of your life is based on the quality of your questions. If you listened to our call last night, I'm encouraging you all to communicate with your own information field, which is your soul, your information field, and start to ask questions. So many of us live in judgment. We don't ask questions. Our ego takes over. Next thing you know, we're judging everything. And when you judge, you shrink your possibility. When you live in a question, you open your possibility. Thank God I was asking questions. So I got obsessed with what the hell just happened. I really got very obsessed with it, and I'm very obsessed with it to this day. And so what I learned happened was that we sabotaged ourselves. This word came onto my radar about sabotage. I didn't know what it was prior to that. I had no training in it. Nobody ever taught me about it in middle school. You know, I just didn't know what it was. So long story short, I've come to learn, and when you listen to me train, you'll hear me talk about etymology a lot. Like I break down the words. What do the words mean? So saboteur basically means, the root word is to slow down. And so what I've learned is this is all neurology. This is nothing spiritual. It's nothing metaphysical. It's neurology. What does that mean? It's your nervous system slowing you down. So I had catapulted my income so far ahead of where I was seeing myself. It was my dream. It was my vision, but my unconscious mind didn't grab it yet. So when you create something that your unconscious mind does not grab yet, you will do what I call pullback. Okay, that's a term I coined for sabotage. I call it pullback. And so what you do is you start pulling back. Now I can give you story after story after story of person after person, even in my own organization. And I can't mention any names because some of them are on here tonight. But I see them sabotage. Some of them go from 80 grand a year, 100 grand a year. Next thing you know, they're making 3, 4, 5, 6, 700,000. And then all of a sudden, they just got the weirdest problems. Instead of being on their knees, thankful, grateful, it's just problem after problem after problem after problem after problem. What is going on? You double, triple, quadrupled your income. You would think you would be grateful. You would think you would be like paying homage to the solar gods or whatever. It just doesn't work that way. Your brain catches hold of this. When it registers in your brain, in your neurology, in your nervous system, that you have gone too far ahead of yourself, your brain automatically pulls you back because it doesn't feel safe. Or your whole nervous system pulls you back because it doesn't feel safe. So your job is basically this. This is why I said yesterday, everything is a relationship. Money is a relationship. People are a relationship. Your soul is a relationship. Your heart, it's a relationship. Everything is a relationship. And so your ability to develop relationships is your ability to create wealth. If you can't create relationships, if you're not good at relationships, you're going to have a hard time getting wealthy. It just doesn't work because you need people to get wealthy. And so you'll hear me say, and I'm quoting one of my coaches, you don't need more money, you just need more people. And the more people you have, the more money will show up. But if you don't have a good relationship with yourself, if you don't have a good synergistic relationship, get this, between your conscious and your unconscious. Okay, your conscious says, I want to be rich. I want a Ferrari. I want to live in a mansion. I want to travel. I want to do this. I want to own a nonprofit. Whatever it is you want to do, but then your unconscious is going, no, we can't do this. We're not good enough. Not where we came from, brother. We're not doing that, sister. We ain't doing that.
Mark,
So
I want to speak to this real quick. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Yep. It's just this analogy, and actually, I think you might have even said it before too. But the thermostat in our life, when our bodies, our minds regulate our lives like a thermostat, where if the thermostat is set to 72, that's your homeostasis, that's your normal, which is 100 grand a year, and you lose that job, somehow you're going to get back to that 100 grand a year because that is what you believe you are worth. That is your normal. But the problem is that it goes the same for the other way. When you go
Right.
from 100 grand a year to a 300 grand, 400 grand a year, I've seen it the same in solar as well, Mark. We have guys that do that. And then all of a sudden they're starting to hurt themselves and do things that they used to not do because their brain, their own identity, like you're saying, your subconscious mind doesn't believe that that's who you are. So you start to do this sabotage. But the thermostat analogy, I just had to throw in there. It's 72 degrees. The door opens up and it's cold outside. So cold air gets in, heat kicks on, gets it back to 72, vice versa. So that analogy has stuck with me forever, but I just had to throw that in there.
Yeah, and it's very true too, because I've experienced this in the opposite as well. There was a time in my life I sold one of my companies. I didn't even work for 2 years, and no matter what I did, I made six figures. Like I couldn't not make six figures. So it will work both ways for you once you get it set. But the thing is that you start to understand there is a relationship between your conscious and your unconscious. Okay. And for my Christian brothers and sisters out there, I will tell you this. If you start to look at the Bible as an energetic book, you will start to see that the Bible is talking about left brain, right brain, conscious, unconscious. It constantly is using metaphors and allegory, but it is a book talking about the mind. And other spiritual texts for years, if you look at Egyptian hieroglyphics, they are depicting a conscious and an unconscious mind. Oh, this is all through history. This is everywhere throughout history. So when you start to understand how this works, you can start to get command of it. Now, I call it pullback. It's basically your brain, your nervous system trying to slow you down if you've gone too far ahead, or in some people's cases, you never get to go far ahead because your nervous system has so much of a grip, you don't get to make that jump. For those of you who are entrepreneurs and sales ass kickers, you might push past that. Okay. And that's what I did. I pushed past that. I pushed past my limits, work ethic, then my skill set raised. I got better at doing what I was doing. But let me tell you something. You cannot outrun your unconscious. You just can't. You cannot outrun your nervous system. You just won't. It's going to win out every time. Don't even try to fight it. It's not your enemy. Try to develop a relationship with it. So today, it's all about look at your unconscious like a little child. It will do whatever you tell it to do. It will do what you tell it. But if it doesn't feel safe, it won't do anything. So your job is to get it to feel safe. How do you get it to feel safe? I don't get it to feel safe in a beta state of consciousness, which is where we're at right here, right now. If you look up beta, alpha, theta, delta, it's got to do with brainwave frequency. Right now, we're in a beta, fully conscious waking state. Your brain waves are moving the fastest. And then naturally you go down into alpha, you go down into theta, and then you go into delta. Your brain waves begin to slow down. Little children live in theta. They're like in this theta brainwave state. That's why everything you tell them prior to 8 years old, 7 years old, they just absorb it all as completely true. Why? Because they're in a slowed brainwave state. They don't have what psychology calls the critical factor. The critical factor is the line between your conscious and unconscious. It's the screener. It's the one at the door blocking, right? We all have this critical factor now. Even right now, you're listening to me. Some of you are saying, oh, that's bullshit. Others of you are going, tell me more, right? But you're listening to me through your filter, through your critical factor. That's how you listen. So you got to learn how to even listen. When you come to a training, it's important that you learn to do a training correctly. What I like to do in a training is I take a notebook and a pen that writes. That's step one, a notebook and a pen that writes. The second thing I do is I draw a column, a 1/3 column to the left of the page, and I just put notes and ideas. It's not always even what the trainer says. Sometimes it's what the trainer stimulates within you. Maybe it stimulates a question, maybe an idea, maybe an action step. So you learn how to become an active listener. Your unconscious mind will shut you down. If the information that I'm giving you is going to fast forward you, believe me when I tell you, your conscious mind will shut you down, because this is what it does. It doesn't want you to move ahead. Now, understand this. It is not your enemy. It's the enemy of progress, but it's not your enemy. It has saved your life. That's what its job is. Its job is to keep you safe, to keep you alive. It makes you breathe. It makes you digest. It makes you excrete. It makes you do all these things. It moves your blood. It's doing it all. You don't have to wake up and think about any of it. It does it all in autopilot. But here's the good news. When you wake up and start to decide and say yes to what's possible in your life, you also have something called a prefrontal cortex. Man, humans, we've been gifted with this evolution, with this thing in the front of our brain that allows us to envision a glorious future, that allows us to dream of something bigger, that allows us to think of ourselves in a higher light. And this is what is amazing. So you start to work with your brain, you're working with your neurology. Now, let me tell you the 3 ways. There are 3 primary ways you sabotage yourselves. And we all do these. We all do it. And you'll know right away, oh, I do that one. That's the one I do the most. How many of you have a problem with follow through? How many of you do not follow through on the details? You've heard it said the devil is in the details. That is what they call the director. Okay, so the director of your life sometimes doesn't follow through. And then some of you sabotage through communication. So you speak in such a way that it shuts people down in front of you. In neuro-linguistic programming, they tell you rapport is based on the quality of your communication. So it's not about you getting your point out. It's about learning through feedback how the other people are receiving you. Are they receiving you or not? They call that sensory acuity. So some of you actually sabotage through communication. And then the third way we sabotage is by overgiving. So we typically either do not follow through, we overgive, and we don't, and by the way, when we overgive, we don't value ourselves, or we have a communication issue. Now, the converse is also true. So one of those is how you sabotage yourself, but one of those is also your superpower. So you have one of those that is your superpower. As one of my coaches says, he tells us that when your lead sabotaging trait is engaged, it's like the first domino. The others don't work as well. So look at it like dominoes. When one falls, when the major one falls, or you go into sabotage, then the other ones fall as well. So for example, let's say you had a problem with follow through, but let's say you were a great communicator. You're an unbelievable communicator, but you suck at follow through. So if follow through is the way that you sabotage yourself, when you feel threatened, when you feel protective of yourself, when you move into protection, your communication will be off. You will not be as effective at communicating. Or if you're a horrible communicator, but you're very good at follow through, and you get triggered or you move into a state of protection, all of a sudden your follow through will not be as good. So these all affect the others. We all have all 3, but you have one dominant methodology, one dominant way that you sabotage yourself over and over and over again in a pattern. It's a pattern. And once you see that pattern and you awaken and become aware, when you move from the 95% unconscious and you become 95% conscious, all of a sudden you can see yourself. So this is the key here, to know thyself. And if you don't understand that sabotage is a thing, which most people don't, because like in personal development, barely anybody even talks about this. Hardly anybody. You got to look far and wide to find somebody who even has any expertise on the topic whatsoever. And so if you find yourself sabotaging or pulling back, then the antidote is to get yourself coached up. And this is why you want to seek wise counselors. You want to constantly have a team of people around you who are wise, who have wisdom, who can see you, and who care enough about you that they'll tell you exactly what you don't want to hear. A lot of people surround themselves with friends who tell you only what you want to hear. Your best friend on the planet is somebody who is challenging you and telling you what you don't want to hear. But what do most of us do with that? When they don't align with your values, what do most of us do? We bail out. That's what we do. Instead of understanding how values work, when somebody doesn't align with our values, boom, we're gone. And so sabotage plays a major, major role in your life. And if you plan on becoming wealthy, if you're first generation wealth, how many of you are first generation wealth? Show of hands. First generation. If you get wealthy, you are the first generation to do it. If you were born into it, it's a little different. There's a different set of problems. Look at the Kardashians. Look at the Hiltons. Like, you can see the set of problems that these people deal with. And I can give you a whole bunch of, other ones, but you can see people who come into mega wealth and the different problems that they have. So at the end of the day, the key for us is to make a decision. Is what do you want? What are you creating? So when it comes to money, wealth, abundance, what do you want as your standard to become your income? What is that number? Do you have a number for yourself? And some people say, well, I want to make $10 billion. Well, listen, if you've made 50 grand a year, that's not likely. Okay, you need a really good solution to a really big problem to make that kind of money, because making money is really, really easy. All it takes to make money is for a sale to take place. That's it. Sales is what moves money. Money doesn't move unless a sale happens. So sales moves money, and the money gets moved through people. So you should be looking for a problem to maximize your income. You got to be looking for a problem that you are freaking inspired and enthralled with solving. If you are not like totally inspired to solve that problem, you're making less money than you could be making. But if you are fired up about the problem you solve, you're excited about the problem you solve, you're going to want to solve it more often. So now you've got one piece of it right, then you just got to work on your neurology. So what can you do about this? For me, it all comes down to this. I said it again last night. I'll say it again today. You got to be willing to do the work on you. Work on you. Most of you will work in your job, but you don't do a lot of work on you. You got to be willing to work on yourself if you want a different reality for you and your family. And so what do you do to work on yourself? For me, it is daily meditation. I got hit with obstacles today, things that would have triggered me in the past. I didn't even budge because my meditation is so strong in the morning, it can't throw me off of the horse, right? Once I get on, I'm so firmly gripped on the horse, it can start jumping up and down. It doesn't matter. I don't get moved. But then again, there are certain days where the meditation is not as tight as it could be. And then I lose my shit. How many of you have lost your stuff? You ever lose your stuff, right? It's embarrassing, isn't it? Well, don't worry. I wouldn't judge you because I've lost my stuff like, I don't know, thousands. I'm in the thousands. I'm in the cleanup phase with my soul, trying to let go of all those negative energies that I programmed in there. And so you've got to be willing to do the work on you. You can read books. It is not going to change your neurology. It's going to change some ideas in your mind. You can come to classes like this, which is incredibly helpful. But you should be looking at a class like this or what are my action steps? What am I going to do? The reward goes to the person who is willing to do the work. Not the person willing to talk about it, not the person who thinks it's a good idea, not the person who liked what was said, the one who does the work. That's the one who comes out ahead. So the question then becomes, are you willing to do the work? Are you hungry? This is why I can't stand smoking weed. Weed makes people freaking lazy. So you don't want to do the work. You just chill out all day. Oh, this is great. It's like some Bob Marley shit. Like that doesn't help you to become wealthy. You got to be willing to let go of that so you find that hunger. If you don't find that hunger in that prey drive within yourself, what is motivating you? Who are you proving something to? Who are you proving wrong? Whose ass are you shoving your success up? Listen, I listened to a billionaire, he passed away. His name was Bill Bartman. Bill Bartman said, and he's a billionaire, this guy came from the street. He told me I say 5% just to spite people. 5%. If that's what motivates you, understand something. Spite is not a sustainable energy. But if you get off on doubt, get off on doubt. Find what makes you starving. Find what makes you hungry. 2 ways to do this. So this is indirectly how you work through sabotage. Number 1, you got to operate with a mission. And number 2, you got to operate with your values. Most of you are not clear on what your values are. If you want to know your values, the best values guy in the game is Dr. DeMartini. You can go to his site. He's what I call an AGI, Tony. That's another great Italian. Okay, Dr. DeMartini. And you can go to his site, drdmartini.com. And you can go on there and you do your values. So you need to know your values and you need to have a mission. So 1994, when I told you that story, I'm in that valley and I wrote this thing. This is from 94. I carry it around with me from house to house to house to house, right? My personal mission statement. I wrote that in 1994, and I've been living out of that mission ever since. If you are not living out of a mission, you're about one-fifth as hungry as you could be. You're not as hungry as you could be. So if you want to get the formula for your mission, what you can do is you guys can text me. If you want to text me directly, or Tony or Zach, if you want to find another way to get it to them, I will get you what I call your now mission. I'll get you a formula, and you can just fill out the formula and create and develop your mission. So why do you need to know your values? Why do you need to know your mission? Because your neurology is going to pull back on you. So you need that thrust. You need that power to be able to push through your own neurology and do not let it dictate what your life's going to be. Tony Robbins says he gets up in the morning and he jumps in one of those ice tanks. And this is what he says. He says, I don't negotiate with my mind. There's no negotiation. We're jumping in the damn ice tank. And that's what we do every day. So STFU, move over, we're jumping in the damn tank. That's what he does. He doesn't negotiate. So what we do is we negotiate, but you got to start to understand your nervous system, how this is working, how this is impacting you, and how you are pulling back when you feel unsafe. It all happens when you get triggered and you move into a protective state. Your cells are either in growth or protection. At any moment in time, keep them in growth. Because when your cells are in growth, when you're in a cellular growth, your whole life is in growth. When you're in protection, you start curling in, you start contracting. And when you contract, you'll see it in your money. You'll see it in your relationships. You'll see it. So don't miss out on the opportunities that sabotage has to offer you. Don't run out of here like sabotage is my enemy. It's not your enemy. It's actually your friend if you learn how to perceive it correctly. Once you know how to perceive it, what's going on, you can just be like, oh, nervous system, I see you. I see you. I got you, bro. I love you. I see you. We're safe. Everything's going to be fine. We're safe. We're going to this new level. Last thing I want to share with you here. And this comes from a coach. You see this nice young lady, Lizelle, up here. Her and I were coached by this one gentleman. And he's also another, just a complete fanatic about this stuff, and he studies relentlessly. And, according to him and according to the nervous system, he's a doctor, your nervous system will go in 10% increments 4 times a year. That's what he says. So when I look back on my own life, I went from 100 to 200,000. I'm a young kid. I'm in my 20s. Next thing you know, I got all these alarm accounts, and boom, the pullback came in, right? And then lo and behold, the next year probably made 250,000 bucks. So I was making 200. We had all these accounts. We were millionaires based on the accounts. Then the following year, everything crashed, and that following year ended up making 200. So when you look at the numbers of your life, when you actually look at the numbers, it will blow you away how accurate this stuff is. It's incredibly accurate. Go for your dreams, go for your goals, but understand when your nervous system is pulling you back. Understand what's happening, and there are places that you can go to assist you in that pullback so you can create the ultimate journey for yourself. And that's another thing. Understand this is a journey. This is long-term. Everything you do, every day you meditate, every day you're working on yourself, doing forgiveness, working with your nervous system, whatever you're doing, you're accumulating. How many of you ever heard about that penny a day doubled for 31 days? They say, would you rather have $1 million or a penny a day doubled for 31 days? Penny a day doubled 31 days is like 12, 13 million or something like that. A lot of people would choose the $1 million up front because they don't understand what compounding is. And when it comes to your personal growth, development, and your skill set, rewiring, it's compounding. So you chip away every day. Sharpen your axe, chip away. Sharpen your axe, chip away. Every day, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half hour, chip away. Another way to really rewire yourself, and I'm going off a little bit here, is to teach. Because when you teach, you rewire yourself. So you learn a concept, you learn an idea, you apply the idea, but then you teach the idea. It's another way to rewire yourself. So I can keep going and going and going, but I'll kind of open it up with that, Zach.
You said there's 3 ways we sabotage ourselves. 1 is communication. 2 is by over giving, which we didn't speak a lot about. And that one I'm a little curious about. And then what was the 3rd? It's communication, over giving.
Not following through.
And then you said a good way for us to eliminate the sabotage is to speak to our consciousness, correct? To try to reprogram what we believe we deserve.
Constantly rewiring. You got a conversation going on in your head every day. Would everybody agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
Take 90,000 thoughts a day on average. They say 90,000 thoughts a day.
Take control of the conversation. That's what I'm saying to you. Take control of the conversation. And when you do the work I was talking about last night, when you literally get quiet and you start to communicate with the field, with the information field, when you say, hey, soul, what's up? And you discover that you've got this other component to your life that you never acknowledged. And you've got this silent partner ready, willing, and able to help you become anything you want to become. Now you got the silent partner activated. So I just conversate all day with this, asking questions. Want to hear a great question? What's an amazing business that would go through a depression that's ecological and has billion-dollar potential? Isn't that a great question to hang on? You just hang on it like a cliffhanger, right? Just hang on it. Because once you start to do the work, you start to ask yourself bigger, better questions. For example, if you're selling solar, you might be like, wow, what would it actually take to generate 20 sales a month? What would this take to do this? What would be the easiest path to generate 20 sales a month? What would be the easiest path to generate 20 qualified sales a month at the highest price per watt? What would that be? What would the best way be to get the most leads for the least effort? See, you start to conversate with yourself different instead of that conversation just gnawing at you all day. You're not enough. You're not good enough. Oh shit. If you listen to the conversation you have, why is the conversation mostly negative? Why? It's neurology. We call it negative. We judge it and make it bad. Negative is good. You can't have a positive without a negative. The negative is because in your neurology, your experiences have the negative experiences. We said this yesterday. They have 4 times the charge in your nervous system that a positive has. Why? Because your nervous system and your brain are here to keep you alive. That's it. They're not here for you to thrive. They're here to keep you alive. On the overgiving sabotage, Tony, people overgive, undervalue themselves. That's the sabotage. We don't value ourselves, so we overgive. And just so you know, I got that problem. That's what I do the most. Mine is overgiving.
I definitely do that. I did it a lot more as a new salesman, but I still continue to do it here and there.
So if it goes out of balance, people who overgive and don't value themselves, you know what they do? Once they overgive, they reach a certain point and then they get pissed. And then they're like, screw everybody. So they oscillate between overgiving and screw everybody. Oscillate, overgive, screw everybody. People who don't follow through, they're not aware. People who don't follow through are completely not aware. And people who communicate, people who have to communicate and sabotage through communication, what they do is they, you'll notice it if you start looking for it, because number one, the communication is usually awkward on this sort of person. It feels a little like weird to get out of the gate with them because it's just the way they are. It's just their mechanism, but they connect and disconnect. So they're connecting and disconnecting. If they feel threatened, they'll disconnect immediately. Boom, just shut right down, disconnect. You know anybody like that who shuts down? You want to fight and argue and they don't want to argue? Anybody know anybody like this?
Yes.
Right? They don't want to argue. I'm not arguing. You never met me. I would argue with you all day long because I love arguing. I love me some arguing. But we're all built differently. So once you start to learn these patterns and these mechanisms, it allows you to be so much more effective at communicating, which naturally is going to increase your wealth. Naturally. So,
Mark, on this topic, it's related to what you were going on a little bit about before. I was just having this conversation with Bryce about like the fear of money. And we were talking about self-sabotaging. I think 99% of people on this call, because they want to make more money. I think that's obviously the basis of why they're here. And these are principles and values and things to help us make more money. But I think, and maybe we can argue a little bit right here, but I think the fear of that person, myself, let's just say, for example, the fear of myself making more money scares people oftentimes. Like when you go from 100 to 500 to 1 million, there's some point where you hit that wall and you start to literally fear that money. Like I think right now in my brain, if I made $20 million next year, like I'd be terrified of that money. I know this relates, but can you just talk to that point for a little bit?
Yeah, what I'd like to say to that is don't get scared. Just call me and we're going to buy some apartments because I am not scared and I got you, brother. I got you.
Well, listen, let me be clear. Hold up now. I'm not saying I'm scared. Shit. I'm not scared. I'm not scared of fucking 10 billion. I'm just saying as an example, I think that's very common.
No, it's incredibly true.
I think like that too. I used to be scared, you know, like what would I do if I had 100 grand in my bank account? I'd be terrified. Someone's going to steal it.
Right. And those are the thoughts we have because money's energy, right? And we got all these preconceived beliefs and stuff. So when you're operating from the belief level, most of us are unconscious about the beliefs that we have. We're not even conscious of the beliefs. And so we have a fear of success. Here's a big fear. What if I make more than my family? What if I make more? This is unconscious. What if I make more than my parents and they don't love me anymore?
Mark, oh my God, wait, on this topic, I don't know about you, but I lie to people in interviews when we interview them because I can't tell them how much money solar people can really make. I tell them, I'm like, we don't make that much money, because if I told them the truth, they'd be like, my father's been a car salesman for 27 years and he only made 100 grand, you know?
That's a good strategy. I think I need to pick that up a little bit more, because it's funny in solar, they get their nervous system gets fried because they come in and next thing you know, they're making real money, like big money, but we have all this unconscious stuff. Like, if I make more money, somebody won't love me. Unconsciously, we are so afraid of being kicked out of the tribe because our survival relied on it. So all the information you have in your unconscious, in your soul, is very tribal. It's very tribal, and it's got to do with survival. So people are afraid, like for myself in my example I gave you before, why would I want to go do another company when I built that company and the next thing you know, we screwed it up and sold it for pennies on the dollar? If I build another company, it could just give me pain, right? So if your unconscious thinks you're going to get pain, it's going to move you away from that pain. But when you start doing the work at the soul level, my philosophy is now, doesn't matter what happens in business, I am freaking relentless.
Okay,
and
so
as long as I can breathe air, I am freaking relentless. I will start another business in 5 minutes and 36 seconds. Get out of my way. I know where I'm going. I'm creating a legacy of wealth that involves business. It's not just about business. I told my wife the other day, if something happens to me, or if something ever were to happen to me, don't go saying, oh, all the guy did was work. Okay, because I freaking love what I do. I'm living my mission. I do 3 things in my mission. Number 1, I'm in business. I love business. Number 2, I coach. I love coaching. And number 3, I redevelop and reposition apartment units, which I absolutely freaking love. So as long as you're doing what you love, you start to get in alignment with your values, get in alignment with your mission, and you start doing the work, and your unconscious belief system no longer has any power over you. And you suddenly realize that these beliefs are all bullshit. And that they're literally BS. They're bullshit. They're all lies. They're all freaking a bunch of lies. They could have told you the exact opposite and you would have believed that to be true. So it was all this BS. So you take what supports you in going where you want to go and you leave the rest. Money doesn't grow on trees. Okay, for all the people out there who want to be broke, that's a great freaking belief. Money doesn't grow on trees. If you want to be rich, money comes from trees, and I own the tree factory. You know, it's like you can make it up. You can make it up in your head any way you want to do it. But
all right, now hold up. On this is on the same topic, but I just wanna, people have a, you know, we just talked about the fear of making money. The fear of spending money, I think, is another issue that, like, for example, your coaching. I pay for your coaching. I won't say how much it is, but let's say there's a monetary value. Let's say, for example, because it's an easy round number, coaching costs me $100 a month. That $100 in my bank account has a 0% value to me unless I go and spend it on something that is going to provide me a value. So the fear of spending money, I think, also stems from people not being confident in themselves to remake that money. So I think this is another big problem where we have guys making $100, $200, $300, $400, $500,000 a year, and they just hold on to it because they're like, shit, what if I lose this job? What if this goes away? What if this happens? I'm terrified because they don't have the confidence to believe that they can go out and create that money. Where honestly, I have the opposite issue. I have the problem where I don't give a, I have too little value in money right now. Like, I'll just spend it on fucking anything. But I want to talk about that because that's the second part to this equation. I think a
So-
lot of people.
Yeah, you're just getting in all we're doing here, guys, folks, is we're just rolling down the rabbit hole of the unconscious mind. Okay, that's all we're doing. So based on your upbringing, for whatever reason, you created pleasure to spending. Maybe they didn't let you spend, maybe you did spend. My son, my 12-year-old, is bougie as hell, man, because my wife takes him shopping and he loves it. So he's got all these badass sneakers. I'm like, how much do they cost? She's like, she won't even tell me. And all I know is I know these things are like very expensive. He's got a pair of Gucci's. He loves spending money. Oh, he just loves it. Personally, I don't spend a lot of money. I make money, I earn money, and I invest money. But when I do spend, I go out big. It'll be, something big. When I do it, it'll be like, hundreds of thousands of dollars, or it'll be on a big thing.
You
But
just
in the
missed my
meantime-
birthday, Mark.
What? So it's just finding your thing around it. There's no right, no wrong. But I will tell you this: there are certain principles you're working with, and we're going to get into this on Thursday. If you do not develop the mind of an investor, it is very difficult to become extremely wealthy. You must learn to invest money, plant the seeds, grow it. You got to learn how to grow what you've created. So there's learning to make more. There's learning, what to do with it. What's the balance between spending, giving? So again, money's a relationship, but you just got to go like this. Write this question down. Do I love my relationship I have with money? Do I absolutely love how I do money? And if you can answer yes to that question, honestly, just keep doing what you're doing. So I've got like 5 steps I teach to grow wealthy. Number 1 is you've got to always earn more than your expenses by miles. That needs to become the habit. If that's not a habit, that's the number 1 habit. So you learn to earn. You learn to become an earner. In the mafia, there's these things they call earners. And you want to become one of them. You want to become part of the entrepreneurial mafia of your own life, where you become an earner and a high earner. And so you earn some. I do believe you should save some. I'm a big believer that you should pay yourself first. Now, what do we do with what we save? Then we invest it. It is only saved for the purpose of investing. And then you give some. I'm a believer that you should give some. They call that tithing. You tithe where you're inspired. You give where you're inspired. And then you pay your expenses. Most people call their expenses bills. I call them expenses. You write thank you on the envelopes. If you're doing it electronically, you say thank you. Those expenses you created, and you say thank you, and you let them go for the services rendered. You pay them on time to honor the services rendered, and you're putting great energy out into the universe. And so if you do that with money, and then the other thing I do is I walk around with a lot of cash. Always got a lot of cash, because cash, and my daughter, she walks around, she debated me on this. She walks around with a debit card. Well, what if I have $10,000 on my debit card? Arguably, maybe that's good. But I like cash. Cash, I like the relationship with it. And I love having a lot of it at all times. So by putting a lot of money in your wallet, you're increasing your financial, your consciousness around money. Even though you might not go out and spend it all, you could. If I wanted to spend $500 right now, I could. If I wanted to spend 1,000 right now, I could. It creates an abundance mindset. So you guys will be working through your belief system as you grow wealthy. You'll be working through your programming. You'll be working through what's going on in your soul. And the quicker you transform this and what's in your heart, the faster you transform all this, you know the tree by its fruit. It will show up in your life that way. And you'll know the tree by the fruit, but you got to do the work. So do the work.
All right, let's open it up to some questions. Anyone?
Real quick, I
Go
want to state something that I noticed, a behavior of yours, Mark, that is really powerful, and it's something I've read about before, where it's like when you're having that dialogue with yourself, you know, when you arrive at a negative statement, instead of accepting that as a negative statement, you ask yourself another question and repeat that cycle until you come to a positive statement. And just to give like a little example of that, it's like somebody who says, oh man, I can't make $100,000 a year. Well, no, you turn that into a question. Instead, it's how do I make
What would it take?
$100,000 a year? And then you continue that cycle until you end on a positive thing. And I think that's something that you do just from listening to everything you've been saying. And I think that's extremely powerful and a great way to continue the conversation with your consciousness at all times.
Living in a question is arguably one of the best things that you can do, and anybody can do it right here tonight. You can just say,
And
you know
not
what?
accepting a negative statement.
I'm not living in the judgmental, fearful mind any longer.
Boom.
You have to understand something, that your mind, some of you have put your mind in the driver's seat of your life. It doesn't belong there. You, when I say you, who am I talking about? Anybody ever been to a wake? You've been to a wake and the body is there. Isn't it eerie? Like, where'd they go? Right? You got this body laying there, but where are they? Who are they? They're no longer that body. Where the hell are they? Where'd they go? Right? So the you have to start to understand is the chi. It's your core energy. When we say you, we think in terms of a body, we misidentify. All wealthy people have a very expanded way of seeing themselves. They see themselves, they don't just see themselves as a body and a mind. They see themselves as much greater. They see themselves as superhuman. So if you were superhuman, what would you think? What a great question. If I chose to become superhuman, how would I think? I'd be like, anything is possible. I can do whatever I choose, right? As long as it doesn't harm other people. I can create at will. I can make millions of dollars. I can invest. Like, you don't see the limits anymore. It's like they go away, but you get there by asking a question. So what Tony is saying is a great distinction. Live in a question. Shut that judgmental, fearful part of your mind down, because it doesn't serve. It just doesn't. And for all of you who are in sales, or most of you, the greatest salespeople are the greatest at dialogue. So start by having that dialogue with yourself. How much better will you be with your customers at dialogue when you are having a dialogue with yourself? You'll be so much more powerful. All right, I think Mr. Belgrave had a question.
Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, thanks again, Mark, for jumping on this call. Appreciate you, man. One thing that I'm really fighting myself on, and I want to see if you can help me out with it. So, like, I feel like I'm really, honestly, just like money motivated, but I've been told before that that's not really like a good thing. But at the same time, like my first month in the sales, all I was thinking about was, I need to become a millionaire. I need to become a millionaire. I'm not in this job to not be a millionaire. And I did a deal every week, my first month. But I've been getting different, opinions from people, not opinions, but like suggestions from people saying that maybe it's not as that good to be money motivated. And now it's like slowing down because I'm not really thinking like, all right, I need to make $1 million every single time. Every time I go out, I need to make $1 million. So I'm torn between, do I just go with it and say, hey, fuck it, I'm money motivated. I need to be thinking about fucking money 24/7 because that's what worked when I got into fucking sales. Or do I switch it and be, you know what I mean?
I hear you. All right, so let me give you a perspective on it. Let me give you a perspective. And I want you to write this down. I don't believe you're money motivated. I believe you're motivated by choice. And so my question to you is, I want you to think back to when you were a little kid and just go where your brain goes. Don't question it, but just think back to when you were a little kid and where was your choice removed from you? And who removed your choice? your ability to choose freely for yourself. Because it is in that upset where you lost your ability to choose, that was your void, and then your voids turn into your values. So you had this void, you had something taken from you, you didn't have the ability to choose, and as a result of that, you wired it up in your brain that money will solve that. And this is what I'll say to you. I think it's a great belief, actually, myself. Now, it's not going to sustain you forever. Okay, there are higher levels of believing where you move from money motivated to be, motivated to solve problems, bigger and bigger problems. And so you get more motivated by the problem and then the money shows up. But initially being money motivated, it sounds to me just like you want to get your choice back. And there's nothing wrong with that, man, because they took my choice away when I was a kid. So you know what I started doing? I had no choice. My mother would look and she'd look at you like, what do you think? I'm a bank? And she would give you this shitty look. Like you'd be asking, it's just a pack of gum. Like, I'm not trying to buy the whole store, lady, right? So guess what? She deprived. So what did I do? I do what any smart entrepreneur would do. I started stealing.
Is that day 5?
I'm going to get my needs met with or without you, lady. And that's exactly what I did. And I became a klepto, 12, 13. Finally, at like age 15, I wind up in jail for a day and I decided to change my destiny. It got my attention, the pain of a jail cell, which I was put in by my uncle, who happened to be a youth aid cop at the time. And so the point is, there is nothing wrong with being money motivated. Nothing at all.
Mike, they call that the 5-finger discount when you just take it right off the shelf. Listen, I want to say 2 things to that. Mike, I was Mike is the guy on my sales team for people who don't know, Mike Belgrave. And when I got into sales 4 years ago, when I had no money, that's all I cared about was money. And now I could tell you 4 years later that yes, of course, you still have the money motivation, quote unquote. But what Mark just said is it changes. Different values. Now I love to coach. I love to teach what I know. I love to change people's lives, right? When I say to people, when you start working at a solar company, your career changes. When you start working at Plug PV, your life changes. That's how I think about it. Secondly, we're all gold diggers. People say gold digger is a bad thing. We're all gold diggers. I'm a gold digger. There's nothing wrong with being a gold digger. We think that's a negative thing when a woman's after you for the money. That's all I'm after too, is money. So there's nothing wrong with being a gold digger. Get used to it. Anyway,
I personally, if you're a woman, what do you want? A broke guy?
You want protection. You want to be provided for. That's normal.
Yeah,
and
I'm looking for the brokest guy I can find.
They say you're only attracted to you for the money. Yeah, but if I'm genuinely, whatever, we're not going to get into this topic. Sorry. I
like that topic. That's a good topic.
Eric, go ahead. You got a question, Eric Layden. Go ahead.
Hopefully that was good for you, Mr. Belgrave. So let me just finish this up. I just want to tell him, go back to the original cause. Where did you lose your choice? Because in that experience, there's gold in that experience if you can recreate it. It's all about recreating that experience in your mind, wherever you lost your choice. And some of us, you lost your choice over and over again, every single day, because some adult, some caretaker kept taking your choice away from you. So you didn't have a choice. And that's why you value entrepreneurship and sales, because it gives you your choice back. Nothing wrong with that.
Because I want to say the stuff you do, but nobody will listen until I have money, because I be saying that stuff. So that's why I'm trying to get money.
No, and I hear you, but don't try to convince them, okay? Because they are where they are. They're at a certain frequency. And so don't try to convince them of your dream. Put your dream with people like Zach. Put it with people like me. Put it with people who are going to support it. Unless, of course, you are completely motivated by madness like I am, and you get off on people doubting you. Every now and again, I'll just look for a good old doubter to give me some shit because it just charges me up. But if you're not motivated by madness, you want to find people who can support you in your dreams. Go ahead, Eric.
Hey, Mark, what's going on? Hey, before I even ask the question, thank you very, very much. Since Tony and Zach saw you with the vault, I've been following your content very heavily. I just have one question real quick. So you went on to start and say the 5 steps for wealth, okay? Number 1 was earn more than expenses. And then the subject or a subject of that, number 1, was invest in what you save. I'm just looking for 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Okay, so earn more than your expenses by miles.
Okay.
So earn, save is number 2. And so to save is all about paying yourself first. I don't know if you've ever heard that principle, pay yourself first. A lot of people pay what they call their bills before themselves. You always pay yourself first. Saving becomes a habit. Number 3, the money that gets saved moves over to investment. The reason it's getting saved is because it's going to get invested, not for a rainy day. The reason it's getting saved is because it's about to go to work. And it's about to go to work because money's purpose is to bring me more money. That's the very purpose of making the money to begin with. Then you give some. And I forgot the 5th one. I forgot to tell it to you before, but I'll tell you now. Pay less in tax, pay as little in taxes as legally allowable. That's the 5th one.
I like that.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, and that becomes a whole nother conversation. One that I'm actively engaged in at this point in my life. And it's just one of those things you got to do, man. So anybody else? Jared, I think you shot me an email, right?
Yes, that's right. You said that.
Actually, it was probably my father. My father is Jared
That was
Senior,
good.
but
Oh, okay.
I want to say thank you for doing this free training. Nothing but golden nuggets. I filled up my entire notepad, and I appreciate you being here.
Awesome.
I want to circle it back to the mission because that was something that you said that really connected with me. I got like 3 or 4 things that I believe can drive me every single day, to keep me on a disciplined track. Now, when you have your mission, I know you had that mission statement, the personal thing that you had showed us. Do you repeat that to yourself out loud every day? Do you have somebody that you call, or do you have somebody
no.
like?
It's just a matter of getting it on paper. And so it's what inspires me. So that I have it memorized. So for me, my mission is essentially to inspire, educate, impact, and motivate. That's the main framework of my mission. It's to inspire, educate, impact, and motivate sales-driven entrepreneurs to access their highest potential. So I have it memorized. I know why I'm here to serve. I know what I'm here to do. I know what my mission is. If you have more of a Christian orientation, you could put /ministry. Your ministry and your mission are the same thing. It's how you're going to give. It's how you're going to serve. It's what problems you're going to solve. And when you get in your mission, Jared, you have endless freaking energy. Like I will wear people down in my mission, even if I am freaking exhausted, even if I didn't sleep. I have superhuman stamina when I'm in my mission, and so do you. But you got to know your values. You got to know what you value most in life. And DeMartini is the guy to help you get clear on your values. Then what you do is you write a mission statement. And once you have your mission statement, you'll know it's correct. It took me 2 weeks to write that first one just to get the words correct. And I've modified it ever so slightly through the years, but every word matters because the end result of your mission is that it switches you on. It's like a light switch. Boom, it switches you on. It's what you're here to do on this earth. It's who you're here to serve. It's what problems you're here to solve. And once you have the framework of that, my mission runs through everything I do in my life, everything. There's nowhere in my life that my mission is not there. In my business, it's all over my business. In fact, I spend a lot of time doing things in my business that I don't like, but I also spend the bulk of my time doing things in my business that are related to my mission. I'm always growing and developing people constantly, whether it be, people in our company, partners, whatever, growing and developing, inspire, educate, impact, motivate, inspire, educate, impact, motivate. So that was my theme. So when I send you the template, take your time on it, write it out carefully, be very mindful about it, pray about it, meditate about it. There's no rush. This is your life, man. This is your life. And when you get it down, you will know because you vibrate. You'll feel this resonance that's who I am. That's what I'm here to do. Many people have said to me, why don't you become a pastor of a church? And I'm like, because my mouth is way too dirty for a church. So I can't do that. I can't walk up to a church and start F-bombing, right? So I do it in business because I don't want anybody restricting me. I told a joke. I did a speech for General Electric. There were 300 people there. I told a joke that had the word tampon in it. And some lady out of 300 people, 299 salespeople were laughing their ass off, and some lady in the back of the room got offended. And I'm like, screw this. I'm going to say what I want to say. I'm going to express myself the way I want to. So my mission is in business. It's in entrepreneur. It's in entrepreneurs, because I know if I drop an F-bomb on you guys, you've heard it before. You're not going to get offended. It's not going to hurt your feelings. So we'll get you the template and then begin to work on yours and craft it out. Take your time, and maybe we can help you more on that in the future.
Wow, that was that was really powerful. I really appreciate that, and I'll be looking out for that template. It's definitely something that I can see how it moves you. I can see how you're talking, and I want to be at that level with my sales and when I do things. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Let me give you one little more perspective on mission versus vision. How many of you have been taught to write a vision board? Have a vision board? Anybody? Right? So what do you put on a vision board? You put the house, you put the Ferrari, you put the freaking beach house, you put the money, the bank account. Let me say this about vision. Vision is me, 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 and me, and me, and me, 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 and more about me. It's all about me. Mission is about what you're doing for others. You will crawl through shit. Do you have any children, Jared?
No, I don't have any children.
None that you know of. Okay, good. So let's just say you did. Let's say you had a little child, a 2-year-old, and some freaking lunatic hijacked your child because you were worth gazillions of dollars, and they took him up to the top of a building, and they were going to drop that child off the other edge of the building. But there's a tight wire from building to building. You're up 10 stories, 20 stories. If it had to do with saving your child, you would do it in a minute. But if I told you cross the wire, walk across the tight wire, I'll give you $5 million. You wouldn't do it. But if your little kid was on the other side of it, you would do it in a minute. And so it's important that you start to understand your mission. You will crawl through mud to get to. Your vision, you'll give up on. You'll never give up on your mission. I don't care how tough it gets in my life. My mission is front and center. I don't care how bad I want to quit. Mission's front and center. When you're an entrepreneur and you're in business, you go through some shit. And I know when you're in sales, you guys are entrepreneurs, you go through some shit. You doubt yourself. You don't sell. You miss a deal. You go a month without a sale or 2 weeks or whatever. You start doubting yourself. It's hard. But when you have a mission, you will crawl through that. You will fight through it, and you will be freaking relentless. And that's why you got to have a mission, Jared. And I suspect you're going to have one very soon. So hats off to you, brother. Who's next, Zach?
In Sanford.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, Mark, thanks again for this training and the guys there. You were talking about the nervous system keeping us safe earlier. Isn't that somewhat of a relationship with fear? If our nervous system is keeping us safe and getting to know the soul and how our nervous system can shut us down, isn't that sort of learning how to train ourselves to recognize and get through fear, possibly?
So fear is a good thing. Fear is in your life for a reason. Fear is your nervous system triggering you to danger, right? So if you're on a train track, fear is your best friend. If you're in sales and you go to knock a door and it triggers you, fear is your worst enemy, right? So it's important that you understand what the fear is. All the fear is your nervous system. So in sales, you'll hear this thing, fear is false evidence appearing real, right? You'll hear, or it says, fuck everything and run, right? Like they got all these acronyms for fear. But at the end of the day, I respect the fear in my life. I honor it and I learn from it. When I'm in fear, I acknowledge it. Thank you. Thank you for showing me. Thank you for sharing that with me. And then I might even go deeper, Brian. I might be like, what's the original cause? You know, give an example. Let's say somebody says something to you and it absolutely just triggers the shit out of you. You've gone into protection. You're not fully aware of it, but you're really struggling with this person, with this interpersonal relationship. And you don't like the way they said something. You don't know how to approach them, but you're pissed off because of what they said. It puts you in a state of protection. So for me, I'm going to be like, thank you. I immediately go to gratitude. Thank you for that. Thank you. Now, granted, I might flip out a little first, Brian. You know, and some of you may have heard me say this. You can just F you some stuff for like 2 minutes and get over it real quick. You son of a bitch, I fucking hate you, you prick, you, right? Like get it out of your system. You got 2 minutes. That's it, 2 minutes, and then get it out of you. And then from there, just acknowledge the fear. And then from there, you might even go deeper into it, just like we go deeper with our customers into their fear, right? Like, have you considered what would happen 3 years from now if you went to the mailbox and the electric bill was double what it is now? Customer says yes. And then you drill down on it deeper. Have you ever considered what the consequences of that would be? Like, how would that affect you and your family personally, right? Respectfully, right? So you learn to drill down, and you drill down on yourself. So when you drill down on yourself, it would be similar to what I was doing with Mr. Belgrave. When is the first time I remember getting triggered this way? See, when you learn to connect a current event, a current trigger, to what some people call a root experience or a foundational upset that you've had in your life, there's a correlation to the two. And so once you learn how to trace backwards upsets, you can pop upsets all day long like balloons, and they'll never, ever bother you again. Because all it's a matter of doing is getting your unconscious mind to show it so your conscious mind sees it as an adult. Most of our fears come from when we were children. So we're carrying these things around and we avoid those things, and then we move towards things that we think are going to give us pleasure. And all of our behavior is being dictated this way unconsciously. So I love to work with results backwards. If you want to know what's going on in your unconscious mind, you look at your results because it'll tell you the story. If you want to know what's going on with your belief system around money, look at your bank account. It will tell you a story. If you want to know what's going on in your belief system around your sales, look at what's going on in your sales. You know, I'll announce this now, and I don't want to embarrass her, but there's a nice lady on here named Erica Vincent. And I don't know this for sure, but Erica might be the salesman of the month in my company for December. Nobody told her you're not allowed to sell in December. So what did she do? She goes out and sells and outsells everybody in December because she never got the message that you can't sell in December. But other people are like, oh, nobody's interested in December. Not according to Erica's world. In Erica's world, they're all interested in December. So it's learning how to trace what's going on in your current reality back to the cause. That's where a good coach comes in, My coach, who I pay $50,000 a year to, is a complete expert. He has made me what will turn into tens and tens of millions of dollars because of what he has shown me that's going on in my current experience. And he's showing me the root cause so that I can heal the root cause. Brian, let me say this to you. What's the opposite of fear? This is what heals everything. Love. Love heals it all. But if somebody hurt you when you were a child, it's fair to say most of us are having a hard time loving them. And then we meet a customer and the customer reminds us of the person who hurt us. So now we don't like the customer. You don't even know them. It just reminded you of the person who hurt you when you were a kid. You lost that sale. Nervous system got all flipped out and freaked out. So it's so important to really master this work so that you can master interpersonal communication. The more you can master interpersonal communication, the more money you are going to make. I did a real estate deal recently. This guy, I bought, what did I buy? 19 duplexes, 2 streets. And this guy is so happy that we bought the property. He had the property under contract before me. And he's so fired up that we bought the property. Like he wanted to sell us the property. Do you know in the area where I buy real estate, Massachusetts, there is nothing like this. 2 streets with 19 duplexes back to back. So all the duplexes on 2 streets. So from a service and maintenance point of view, it's incredible. It's a village. It's a little village. There's nowhere up north like that. This guy could have sold this thing so many ways. He sold it to us, myself and my real estate partner, because we built that relationship. We've worked through our fears. When you work through your fears and you learn how to work with it, not against it, don't work against yourself or your fear. Love them and honor them and inquire around them. Where did you come from? You could literally just talk to the fear. Where did you come from? When is the first time I experienced you? Everything in the universe is consciousness. I know it gets weird, and that's where the group gets quiet. Everything gets quiet. Then I drop an F-bomb and everything comes back up. And then I talk about consciousness, everything gets quiet. Everything gets quiet. Everything is alive and conscious. That's what you got to start to understand. Everything in the universe is alive and conscious, including the planet itself. So believe me, your fears are alive and conscious, and you have a reservoir inside of you. Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within. He didn't say it's in the Catholic Church. He didn't say it's with the priest. He didn't say it's with the Pope. He didn't say it's with the rabbi. He said the kingdom of heaven is within. All I'm trying to do is get you to go within, start to have a conversation with yourself, develop a relationship, and watch how more powerful you become. More hands, Zach, more hands. It's going to be a long night.
We got one more. Roger, go ahead. You'll be the last one, then we'll wrap it up.
Mark, first of all, thank you again. This has been incredible. A lot of what you were talking about earlier with rewiring your brain, to me, it sort of danced around this, the term I always think of as manifesting, where you kind of create your reality. How first of all, obviously it's important, but how important do you think it is, and how do you train people to learn how to manifest? It's for a lot of people, they have this barrier where they can't do it, and that's what I find myself with.
With a barrier that you cannot actualize something that you want to bring into your existence?
I can, but it's hard to do it without all those little doubts, the ego coming in. So how do you really? And I find that when I break through it and I have a very clear vision, it happens. It clicks right on. But it's getting to that step. And how do you train? How do you teach somebody to do it? How do you do it?
So the way I teach it is I don't teach, and I'm the guinea pig in my own life. I don't tell you guys nothing that I don't do myself. So I am the guinea pig. So for years, in 1998, Roger, I learned about the law of attraction, 97 or 98. And I was like, oh my God, game over. Holy shit, holy. Like, this is amazing. I was so freaking wound up, and we're vibrational, and we can envision things and act as if it is, and it's going to happen, and yada, 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 right? Law of attraction, which is a great law too, by the way. Through my journey, I have learned that there is a superior law, and that is the law of creation. So how is it that things get created? And my understanding and my awareness of how things get created is it starts with the information field. So when we're trying to envision something, you're in the level of the mind. So the mind is the third step, not the first step. That's why I call it soul set, heart set, mindset. You start with the soul set. So the soul, how do you readjust and rewire an information field? You ask the field itself. As crazy as that is, Roger, I would go to the soul first, and I would say, hey, soul, like, I'm actualizing 1,000 apartment units. Show me the best way. But see, most people won't do that because you don't understand the power of the information field. I'm not saying you, Roger, but generally speaking, people don't understand the power of the information field. They don't understand that everything is connected. They don't understand because we've been so dumbed down. We've been so sold out of our gifts. We think we are single dimensional. You are so multidimensional and so freaking powerful that there are certain people, or I don't even know if they're people, there are certain things in the universe that have done everything in their power to limit humans. And they've done this through education, medication, they've done it through school systems, they've done it through advertising. So we are living in this paradigm that's very, very limited. And so what I've done, Roger, and what I teach is to shatter that whole paradigm. I don't see myself as limited. I don't teach in limits. So I start with the soul. And by rewiring the soul, the information, I'm aware that the information in the soul feeds the heart. The heart is a receiver. And then I know the heart is going to send impulse to the mind and to my brain. So it goes soul, heart, mind. So if you want clearer visions in your life so you can see it clearer, think about this. If you were to do some forgiveness work, it's all levels and layers. You do some forgiveness work, some regret, some guilt, some resentment. You clear that stuff out of the heart. Now the heart is resonating and vibrating. Remember when we were little kids and you were how vibrant your imagination was? And then some adults like, no, you can't do that, right? So the clearer your heart energy center is, because you don't have any resentment. You've let go of things. You've forgiven things. You've reperceived things. You've forgiven yourself. You've invited others to forgive you. You know, one of the reasons that when you think about other people and you have negative thinking about other people, you think those people don't pick up on that negative. I could prove otherwise to all of us very easily. One-on-one, I could prove that to you. They pick up everything. So what I would work on is cleaning up the information field in the soul. We all have a lineage. We all have a heritage. Our ancestors struggled. You have a rich heritage of survival. Rich heritage of survival. Can you imagine if you were 12 generations of billionaires? What would we be like today? How would we be thinking? Would we even be on this call? Like, we'd be doing a whole different deal, right? But we're not 12 generations of billionaires. Most of us are 12 generations of extreme struggle. So the information field that I'm referring to as the soul or the field, it's got struggle in it. It's got a lot of negative in it. Why? You know, the Italians, I'm Italian. So Italians, you know, you can tell Italians, hey man, you know, I just went out there and made $100,000. They won't even congratulate you. You know why? Because they're afraid somebody's going to hit you with evil spirits. They want to keep everything down. They want to keep it on the low, right? Keep everything low. I started making money. My father was losing his marbles. Downplay it, Mark. I'm buying Jaguars, Porsches. I'm spending everything I can, buying all these cars. He's going out of his mind. His information field was like, if you go and tell people this, we're going to get hurt, right? So the information field is so important that you start to acknowledge. So to answer your question, soul, rewire, heart, rewire, mind, rewire. The mind is so easy to rewire when you rewire the heart and the soul. The mind is difficult to rewire when all you're doing is trying to rewire the mind. It's so easy to rewire a belief. You can literally be going through your day and be like, you pick up a limited belief or you become aware of a limited belief and you just drop it. Done. When you're doing the soul work and the heart work. So for me, Roger, I required a big, big heart cleanup. That was my journey. I don't know what your journey is exactly, but that was my journey. My soul, I require a soul cleanup. And then the mind and the pictures and the images are just like, boom, you're just walking around feeling invincible. Then it really becomes a vibration. Once you get, that's what I don't like about the law of attraction. They tell you, you got to act as if. Well, how am I going to act as if when I hate everybody? How am I going to act as if when I'm resentful? How am I going to act as if when I feel victimized? You can't act as if. So that's why it's important to know who you are. I believe it's every bit as important, maybe even more important, to know who you are and whose you are. You're a child of the universe. And as a child of the universe, whose you are, you have direct access to power that we've been talked out of. I'm just talking people back into it. Soul set, heart set, mindset, creates your energy field, creates matter. That's my story, and I'm gonna have to be sticking to that because that's what's working in my life. And
I don't know what the heck he's talking about.
Weird as heck, man. Roger, hopefully that's helpful. Was there any like aha moment there for you, or any particular insight there in what I'm sharing?
If you're asking me,
Yeah, Roger.
Absolutely. You're talking about the clarity of it and going from, soul to heart to mind. I've been trying to do it up here, and that's very difficult.
That was the huge breakthrough for me when I realized it goes soul, heart, mind instead of just the mind. That in itself was a huge breakthrough. And then you just start working at a soul level and a heart level. I'm forgiving everything all the time. I do forgiveness work every day. I do it all. I do it every single day. I literally do forgiveness work every single day. And I'll probably continue to do it. I just do the work, do forgiveness work, rewire my soul, rewire my mind. My mind is so easy. The mind is a field of energy. You just start thinking thoughts, boom, you put it onto the mind. And it's the mind's job. The mind is what goes out and creates it. It's an energy field. The mind becomes energy and it converts things to matter. It's alchemy. The mind is an alchemist. It converts things. That's what it does. So.
I love this stuff. I'm the same way. As soon as you get onto one thing, it's just bing, 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 bing.
Yeah,
the next.
It's because we were never taught this. That's why we're so hungry for it. We were never taught this. Nobody ever taught you this. They taught us what we can't do, who you can't be, what you're not. Like, all right, good. STFU now. All you people who told me that shit, right?
Yeah.
Like enough. So.
Yes. All right. Well, we have gone way over time, but I don't think anyone is upset about it. I don't even think anyone's left the call. I think everyone's been on this entire time, which is awesome. So it is now 8:30, so we will let everyone go. But Mark, that was a fantastic call. We got into so many different things and variations and solutions and problems and so many things. But these calls are getting more and more exciting. And honestly, I don't know what else more to say. But We will be on again tomorrow at 7 o'clock, same
Doing
time,
skill set.
same thing.
skill
Yep. Tomorrow is how to build a ridiculous skill set. So once you have worked through the rewiring, well, you're not always, it takes it's a process, but
Yes.
once you have thought about rewiring your mind, eliminating self-sabotage, these two things, as you're working on those consciously, the third thing to create wealth is build a ridiculous skill set. And now most people on this call are in sales. And obviously that's what Mark is going to teach us a lot about tomorrow. So go ahead, Mark, were you about to say something?
Yeah, I just want to, two things, not to belabor this, but I want to make sure everybody can get the mission process. So that's a thing. So I want to make sure they can get that mission process. That's important.
So we did drop
I did
link.
yeah, hold up. Actually, let me say that in the
Oh,
chat.
did you?
In the chat, I put the Dr. DeMartini. I thought that's what you were talking about, but you're talking about your
No,
mission.
Dr. DeMartini does your values. He's going to
Correct.
help you figure out your values. I have a mission process that I'll send you. It's laid out and you just fill it out and you'll have your mission.
Got it. All right. Well, if you send that directly to me,
We could do it in the email.
we have the email list that we can send it out to everyone.
Okay, perfect.
So we
Perfect.
can do that tonight or tomorrow morning. We'll make sure everyone else gets it.
Perfect. Perfect.
Go ahead. You said there was two things. Was that it?
Oh, no, the other thing was, there was another question that came through, but I'll answer it in an email. It was a little off topic, but it was a great question. It was about my wife. And,
Oh, the one that emailed you yesterday?
yeah,
Jared?
yeah. So I'll answer it in an email. It's all good. It's cool.
Okay.
All right.
All right, Tony, anything else?
That's it. Thank you, Mark. I was really looking forward to today and I can't wait to put these principles to work, man. Seriously.
Outstanding, guys. Thank you for putting this on. These two here are life changers, man. These guys are changing lives. I'm watching them do it. I love being a part of it and can't wait to do more with you guys.
All right, everyone.
See you
We will
tomorrow
see you
night.
later.
Thanks,
Thank
Zach,
you
for
for
joining.
joining. See you guys.